Hi, my name's Bruce. This is my channel. And if you enjoy this riveting content, please hit the subscribe. I mean, well, I like it. There's no contests, there's no prizes, there's no rewards, there's no nothing. All you get is you get me on a semi-regular basis, and if you like, you could go back and see some of the old me. And I don't think that the stuff that I had to say a few months ago is somehow withered away and is not quite so relevant. And I'm not 100% sure if this video is even going to work, because what the heck, if you've been following, you know that I freely admit I'm really am not that good at making videos. But anyway, okay, a couple things. First one is this Fisker stuff. Well, the car, geez, it's a fantastic car. It's beautiful. It's lovely. I mean, it's very, very well made. It's nice. It is very, very nice. But and it's a funny the but is that cars these days, at least cars that are worthy of considering, are really kind of like computers. Okay, and they're computers on wheels. So an electric car especially, and really if you're going to buy a car, you should just get an electric car, because goodness gracious, it's a little bit heartbreaking when I see people buying not an electric car and then thinking of the experiences that I've had with not electric cars and contrasting that with the experience I have with electric cars. And I'm like, which one's better? It's a slam dunk. It's no question. But anyway, so electric cars, they're like battery, computer, motor, and a bunch of stuff to make you comfortable. So the good thing about that is that computers have software, and software has updates. Reminds me of decades ago, long time ago. Around 1980, a friend and I were very excited about computers, and we'd spend all our time talking about computers and all this stuff. And we were especially my friend, we were pretty nerdy about the whole thing, and enjoyed it. We would log on to the university's computer over the network, the internet, from the house using a telephone cradle modem, and you'd hear the noise and all that stuff. It was kind of cool. And then we would talk about how cool the university computer was, because they had a 5 megabyte hard drive, and this thing was enormous, and it had its own foundation. It would sit in the floor, and we thought it was just amazing, which in retrospect, well, it's amazing. But what does this have to do with cars? Well, what it has to do with it is, the rest of that story is at the time there was a local store, and they were selling computers, and we'd go there and kind of hang out a bit and play with the computers. And then the guy asked me, he said, well, what do you think of this computer? And at the time, this was was it a Coleco computer or an Atari, or it was one of those. It was something like that. And I thought about it for a few seconds, and I said to the guy, I said, you know what, they're not that good. And the reason why is because the hardware and the programs are all intertwined. So when you buy this thing, the programs that you get with this computer are the programs that you're going to have, period. And then if you go to the store across the street and down the road a bit, there was another store, and they were selling Apple computers. And the Apple computers, the programs and software that we didn't realize it was called software at the time. I said that the programs that you get with the Apple computer when you buy it, well, then you can just get other programs, or you can change those programs. And so that gave it a tremendous advantage, which turned out to be that was a real thing. But that was in like 1980, maybe 79, 80, one of those years. But anyway, but this is about car. And the point of it is to say that the modern electric car is awesome, because the computer part changes and gets improvements, and things just get better, seemingly magically. A guy criticized me few days ago for using the word magically, but he was looking for a magic solution to a problem that didn't have a magic solution. But notwithstanding, what happens is is that the software that makes the car function improves over time. You wake up in the morning, and the car that you wake up with is better than the car that you had in your driveway when you went to bed. Wow, that's kind of cool. So this Fisker thing, if you look back in the earlier videos, we did a road trip with the Fisker car, and was 3,500 kilometers through the very cold. And then I had some a follow up to that. I talked about some of the things that I failed to mention in the specific road trip video, and maybe there's other things that I failed to mention. But a couple of things that I mentioned were this service. Okay, what happened was Fisker. So Fisker, a representative from Fisker came to the house with the tools, with the parts that needed replacing, and replaced the parts at the house with no fuss, no muss, no trouble whatsoever, and it just worked. So the hardware components of the car that we had problems with, namely this thing with especially this windshield wiper fluid stuff that froze and cracked the windshield wiper reservoir in the vent system. So the gentleman came to the house and did that work, replaced it all, and it went swimmingly. Now, another thing is that today there was some other, I don't want to say problems, but there was some stuff with the car, like the odometer wasn't quite perfect. It wasn't giving like the kind of information that maybe that I would like to have in an electric car, meaning the power consumption and stuff like that. Now, then Fisker has a release today, or the next iteration of the software, which will magically appear in the cars over the next few days, corrects a list of these problems and has some optimization and stuff to make the car a better car. And if you watched the last video where I talked about the Fisker automobiles a bit, I use the phrase bluff, bottom line up front. I'm going to skip that right now, but I'm going to reiterate is, if you're going to buy an electric car, should you buy a Fisker? And my answer remains the same, in that if you like that car, if it appeals to you on an aesthetic basis, if you think it's beautiful, and I think it's beautiful, and if it fits within your budget and you think it fits within your needs, then by all means get it. I think it's fabulous, really. And this isn't like a paid commercial for Fisker or anything. And if you follow, this is not a channel about car reviews. And I think I've had a bit of a thank you very much, by the way. Oh, please subscribe again. But thank you if you have subscribed and you landed on this stuff. Great. And but if you think that it's all about cars, well, it's not. I think. Sort of rarely talk about cars. I do talk about cars because, heck, I'm a guy, I like them. I mean, I like cars. And I think that, it's not I think. And the reality is that electrical items are very, very important to our existence, and we must have more electricity in our lives as that. It's just that simple. More electricity helps everyone, and yeah, and there's a bunch of, some people are going to say, what about? Well, I made a whole video on the yeah, but. I made a video about it, the yeah, but. People, you're going to say something, someone's going to say, yeah, but. Well, the reality is electricity is good, okay? And the electricity, the one great thing about it, the one solid good thing is that electricity gives you choice. Okay, so electricity it fulfills, in a sense, the same function as money. It's an intermediary between the source of energy and the utility that we're looking to derive with that energy source. And in the source of energy, you can use gravity, hydroelectric. That gets you electricity. You can use nuclear, that gets you electricity. You can use wind, that gets you electricity. Especially, offshore wind is really brilliant, because the negative about wind energy and wind turbines is that people don't not everyone, but many people do not like to look at wind turbines. And when they wake up in the morning and someone says, we're going to have some wind turbines, and they get all up, no, 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 no. And offshore wind is great because, first of all, it's always more windy offshore. There's more energy to be garnered. You can put larger wind turbines. Now, on this thing about the size of wind turbines, it's good to know, if you don't know anything, here's a little factoid, is that wind energy goes as the cubic power of the size of the turbine. So if you have a turbine that is 1 unit of size, and then you make another turbine that is 2 units of size, well, that's going to give you the cubic power, which is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8, which I call 10 for the simple, doing easier mathematics, just round that up to 10. So you make the thing twice as big, you get about 8 or 10 times the energy. So there's a lot of incentive to make these things really, really, really big, and then to put them offshore is just brilliant. Okay, wind energy. The next energy form that you can get is solar. Photovoltaic solar is right now, it's the least costly form of new electrical installation that exists. And the amount of new electrical photovoltaic installation that's going globally is massive. And then the amount of, and it can be homegrown. Like in your house, where you live, there's a good chance that you can install enough solar to meet your daily energy needs, even in places where you would not ever think it possible. There are solar projects being installed in the Canadian Arctic because hitherto, or up to this time, the manner of generating electricity in the Canadian Arctic was with diesel electric generation, which is basically you have a big diesel motor that turns a generator that creates electricity, and that means that you need to get the diesel. And transporting the diesel to the Arctic is dangerous, expensive, and it just doesn't really seem to be that great. But there's sun in the Arctic, and so there's Arctic communities that have solar arrays, and they're very happy with those. They're working out really, really well. Obviously, when you have 24-hour darkness, then your solar production is zero. But if you're able to not transport cubic meters or tons of diesel, then that's great. Anyway, I just wanted to bring you this update on the Fisker, and the reality that the service that came from the Fisker company was fantastic, and that the car is great. I think it's very good, and that the software updates are coming along nicely, and that if I'm contrasting the software updates that are coming along with this Fisker Ocean and what I experienced with my Ioniq 5, it's at least it's very comparable. And the Ioniq 5 experience that I have today is, I'm going to say, far, far, far better than the Ioniq 5 experience I had when I bought it from a software perspective. I mean, the car was great when I bought it, and it's better now. That's it. Anyway, okay, my name's Bruce. I don't know if you can hear these the diesel electric trains rumbling in the background, but they're diesel electric trains and they're rumbling in the background, and that's something that we have to fix. We have to take the diesel out of the electric, and it's very doable. Anyway, thank you very much. Bye.